Okay. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. We are back. We are going to be continuing with our look at the triennial Torah portion. We want to, as per usual, look at the Torah for today. Let's see here. Today's reading is Exodus chapter 18. Actually, what we're going to actually do is we're going to look at the final verses from 17 and kind of compare what we find in the end of 17 with what we have over in chapter 18. So we want to go ahead and get into that. Today, what we're going to really be dealing with is what Yithro heard. Yithro heard. That's what we're going to deal with. And we'll see what was so special about what it is that he heard and his reaction, most importantly, to what it is that he heard. We want to go ahead without further ado. I'm pretty sure that's French. We want to go over here and pull up the scriptures here. Pull up the scriptures here, and we'll go ahead and read actually the last few verses from Exodus. So let me Exodus 17. Let me pull this up here.
Exodus 17.
Exodus 17. We want to go down to verse 8. So we want to go ahead and read. Last week we kind of went through this whole situation with the water from the rock, and we stopped over here, but we want to continue on with verse 8 and read down through the end of the chapter there. Okay, hold on 1 second here. Hold on 1 second. Okay, go ahead and read from starting with verse 8. Right here, nice and loud.
And Amalek came and fought with Israel and Rephidim. And Moshe said to Yehoshua, choose for us men and go out, fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I am stationing myself on the top of the hill with the rod of Elohim in my hand. And Yehoshua did as Moshe said to him, and to fight with Amalek. And Moshe, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And it came to be that when Moshe held up his hand, that Israel prevailed, and when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moshe's hands were heavy, so they took a stone and put it under him. And he sat on it, and Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one one on one side and the other on the other side. And his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. And Yehoshua defeated Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. And Yahweh said to Moshe, "Write this for remembrance in the book and recite it in the hearing of Yehoshua, that I shall complete a blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under the heavens." And Moshe built a slaughter place and called its name Yahweh Nisi. For he said, "Because a hand is on the throne of Yahweh is to fight against Amalek from generation to generation."
Okay, very good. Very good. So we're going to go back over here and look at some things here. Go back up because we see over here. Let's first deal with this people, the Amalekites. The Amalekites. Let's see here. Let me get our tools up here. So if we look over here, who is Amalek? Amalek, if we look over here, first if we just click this right here, and okay, Eastward just crashed on me. Okay.
The Exodus 17 is that?
Yeah. Okay, let me pull that back up here. Don't know what happened with Eastward. We pull that back up. Okay, very good. All right, so Amalek. Amalek, it says probably of foreign origin. Amalek, a descendant of Esau. So this name over here is not actually Hebrew. It's actually kind of a transliteration. So we have the sounds from its original language transferred over into the Hebrew over here. That's why you don't get a real definition, right, for Amalek, because it's not really it's from foreign origin, right? But what we do see here is that Amalek, the Amalekites, were descendants of Esau, right? If we go over to, let's see here, if we go back to Bereshit, let's see, verse 12. Let's look at, read for us verse 12, what that says right there.
And Timnah was the concubine of Eliphaz, Esau's son, and she bore Amalek to Eliphaz. These were the sons of Adam, Esau's wife.
Okay, and 16.
Chief Kor, Chief Batum, Chief Amalek. These were the chiefs of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. They were the sons of Adam.
Okay, so we see over here that this Amalek person here was a son of Edom. Well, he was a grandson, I'd see. '12. Yeah, he was an Edomite. He was from the lineage of Esau, right? And so when we look over here, when we look over here, um, we learn from Genesis who uh, Amalek's fathers were, right? And we get a little bit of information in terms of the lineage. Um, but we don't have a clear understanding really as to why it is, these Amalekites decided to go over here and attack the Israelites, seemingly kind of uh, kind of just preemptively. They just went and started to fight against them, um, just for no reason, no apparent reason. But it seems as if when we go back and we understand who this is, it kind of gives us the reason, right? The reason is basically because we're talking about Esau, right? We're talking about these Amalekites who, being the children of Esau, being of that particular lineage, that's the reason. The reason is that it was Israel and they're Esau, and Edom, Esau fights against Israel, right? And so if for no other reason we're able to see that these people who basically have inherited a hatred for a particular people, they went ahead and they manifest that hatred over here. Now also if we look in other places, we're able to see that actually able to get some more information as to what actually happened. Because when we look in the text from Exodus, right, it just says, then Amalek came and fought against Israel, right? And it just says that. But if we go over to Deuteronomy, if we go over to Deuteronomy, let's see, Deuteronomy 25:17. Here, read for us these last three verses here. Hold on, let me make this big. Okay.
Remember what Amalek did to you on the way as you were coming out of Mizraim. He met you on the way and attacked your back, all your feeble ones in your rear, when you were tired and weary. He did not fear Elohim. Therefore, it shall be Yahweh Elohim has given you rest from your enemies all around in the land which Yahweh Elohim is giving you to possess as an inheritance, that you blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under the heavens. Do not forget.
Okay, so if we see over here in verse 18, it says that he met you on the way and attacked your back. Amalek attacked you from the rear, where all of the feeble ones are. When you were tired and weary, how did they even know that they were tired and weary? It's probably spying on them. How do you know like the condition of the people? I can look and see the people maybe from afar off and say, oh, there they are. And I could even look and see how they're set up. I can see that it seems, oh, from afar off, I can see that the men seems to be in front and they have the old people and the children in the back. But it seems like I got to get a little closer and even do some type of recognizance to go on a recon mission to find out that they're tired and weary. So we're sitting there, they're spying them out, right? They're getting ready. They're checking out how they're how everybody's situated, and then they attack the weakest spot, the people in a time of their weakness, right? We just got finished hearing about how they were so thirsty and ready to die and everything because they couldn't get no water from before, right? And then here you have the Amalek coming from behind, sneak attack against the weak parts of the people. And so we're able to see now kind of a clear example of just kind of the inherent wickedness of the people, right? Because people warred, right? You warred, they went into battle and things, right? But then they go up here and they're not even looking for an honorable battle, right? They just go in and they're trying to take out Israel, from behind, where the warriors ain't even in the back parts, right? And so when we look at this, it caused me to think about a few things now. So when you think about the fact that it seems as if there was some kind of intel that happened because of the fact that it says that they know. It says it talks about the fact that they knew about these them being weary and tired. And what else is it that they knew, I wonder? Because you think about the fact that the Most High just delivered Israel from Egypt. I wonder if they knew about that. It seems as if this was this kind of a huge thing that happened in the not so far vicinity. Did they hear about what had just happened, or not even just thinking about the everything that happened in Egypt, but even just like in terms of the chase that happened after, the fact that the people of Egypt, the Egyptians, just basically got slaughtered. They got to know that, it seems. So I'm saying that potentially they knew what happened, that either they were miraculously, I'm saying they being Israel, either Israel miraculously conquered and freed themselves from Egypt. I'm saying the perspective of the Amalekites. Either they mightily and miraculously conquered Egypt and freed themselves, or the Most High did it for them. is the only two ways that these people could go from being the slaves of Egypt and then now they're free. And so, but the Amalekites didn't care about either one of those things. So either they didn't know, what happened. I think they had to have known. But we could say either they didn't know or they didn't even care how it was that Israel got there, just that they was going to go ahead and attack them. And so if they did know and didn't care, then we can look and say, well, that seems to be just pride, right? Because they knew that they must have overpowered Israel somehow. They knew that they must have overpowered Israel somehow. However they did it. They had to have known at least that. But that wasn't enough for them to say, then they won't be able to overpower us. Right? In their minds, they were still higher. They were still higher than Israel. The Amalekites were in their minds. They still, regardless of how it was that they got there, they still felt like they was able to just go ahead and beat them. Even if we can't say, well, they looked for them to be in this weakened state because they're out in the desert. They were in a place, they went through a place there shouldn't have been water for them to drink, which they must have known from doing their military intel. And so, they still believed one way or another that the Amalekites were greater than Israel. And so, it caused me to really think about the idea that, when you think about, a non-believer, right, their reaction to Elohim. There is no reaction, right? They don't believe, they don't care, they could care less. You can say whatever you want to say about what it is that the Most High has done for you, the things that you've seen him do, your witness, right? If you're a non-believer, those things don't matter to you, right? They don't have any sway. You disregard these things, right? You don't believe, right? So that's what I'm saying. It don't really matter if they knew, if they heard about what happened over there in Egypt. They obviously didn't believe it, because they thought they was going to be able to go in there and be successful against these people who, are the people of the Most High. So they don't care about the Most High. They couldn't. They don't give the Most High any regard. They don't put any weight on his name, because of the fact that they went ahead and attacked them. Right? They still have this idea that is embedded in them that they are above Israel, and Israel is below. Israel, they have what rightfully belonged to our ancestors. I'm saying, I'm speaking as Amalek. They rightly have what belongs to our ancestors, and we're gonna go over there and show them who's the ones that's on top. And so again, when you think about the idea of the non-believer, right, the person who doesn't believe, it don't matter what you have to say about your God, if they're of that frame of mind where um, they don't believe. And again, this is something that is just um, inherently in these people. It's inherently in all people, I would say, to be on one side or the other.
Yeah.
Um, the Most High chooses. His choosing is according to his foreknowledge. We learn in Romans, so he knows who would choose and who wouldn't choose, and he chooses the ones who would choose. And Esau, of course, are non-choosers, right? That's the reason why they are not loved but hated, right? Because they have manifest um, their true heart time and time again. Here, these ones, the Amalekites, we see, because they do eventually get wiped out, the Amalekites, but we do see them over the next couple generations or so within the scriptures at various points, these Amalekites. But again, the thing that is the same is this kind of hatred and obvious disbelief. It says again in verse 18 of Deuteronomy 25 that they did not fear Elohim. They did not fear Elohim, right? So again, when you think about this idea of not fearing Elohim, this is really at the bottom of it all, really, because you know something that's directly connected to belief is actually the fear of Elohim, right? So if you don't fear him, if you don't have no regard for what it is that the Most High is capable of doing, then you just gonna act any kind of way. And that's what they did. They went up against the Most High's people when he just got finished miraculously um, freeing them from hurt, harm, and danger in every way, right? And so when you think about people, wicked people, the unrighteous people, it always could go back to this idea that they do not fear Elohim. They do not fear Elohim. They don't even regard Elohim. They don't have any thoughts for the spiritual consequences of physical actions. Right? There's people who walk around and say that they are believers in the Most High, but we're able to see through their actions that they truly don't fear Elohim. Again, because of their actions, right? We look and see something that Yeshua said. He said that out of the abundance of the heart does the mouth speak. People, we talk about like the Freudian slips. When you sit up there and sometimes you might say something that you didn't mean to say it, but subconsciously, like you meant to say it, like subconsciously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You meant that's what you meant, right? And that's why it came out like that. And so when we think about, people where they might say this or that in regard to their relationship with the Most High, but eventually what they end up doing, what they end up being, is a manifestation of what is inherently in their hearts, right? So you're able to see, if you watch someone long enough, you're able to see, um, you know, if they really do fear Elohim, because the proof is in the proverbial pudding, right? When you can say what you want to say,
Right.
right? But a good tree don't give off wicked fruit, right? If you're a good tree, you're gonna have good fruit. If you're a wicked tree, you're gonna put off wicked fruit. And there's nothing that you can do besides changing the type of tree that you are,
Yeah.
which is a spiritual transformation, right? A wicked tree could look like a good tree.
Yep.
A wicked tree really could look like a good tree with fruit. Like when somebody was talking about those monkey ball trees. You ever see those?
I don't think so.
They let off this little fruit thing. It's like a green thing, kind of looks like a brain.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like
Yeah,
those
that's what it's
things,
called.
nobody eats those things. But when you look at it, it looks like a piece of fruit that you could potentially eat.
Mhm.
But like animals don't eat those things unless like there's like literally nothing else to eat.
Mm. Okay.
But looking at it, they look like it looks like a big old piece of fruit. Like you could cut that thing open and it's just full of juiciness. But really, I mean, it's really just it has no purpose. It's really a wicked tree, right? But it looks potentially good. And so again, when we think about wicked ones, right? The thing that's at the root of these wicked ones is the fact that they do not fear Elohim, right? They do not have that fear for Elohim, which again, when we look at the Amalekites, they obviously didn't, right? So let's go back over here and look at.
Well, real quick, well, because you was in Deuteronomy, did this tie into with the Amalekites, tying with Numbers 20, where they wouldn't let them pass? You think
Numbers.
Numbers? What is it? 20.
Oh, when they wanted to go
Yeah, where
through
Edom wouldn't let
around.
them pass. Because
Oh, was that Edom
yeah,
or?
that was Edom, and they
Okay, so the Amalekites now don't they are Edomites,
but they weren't Edom.
but they didn't represent the entirety of the Edomites.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the Amalekites were a people who came from Edom, and those were their cousins, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that is exactly the same. I mean, it could.
Because it gives a distinction that does say Edom and then
Yeah.
does say
So we
Amalek.
know that they're connected peoples,
Mhm.
but it's not necessarily
The same.
the same thing.
So in Numbers 20 and 14, it says, and Moses sent messengers from Kadesh to the king of Edom. Thus saith thy brother Israel, thou knowest all the travail that has befallen us. How our fathers went down into Egypt, and we dwelt in Egypt a long time, and the Egyptians vexed us and our fathers.
Yeah.
And so this is so.
And then
Moses is saying that they Edom knew. You
Yeah.
know what happened to us down in Egypt. At least
And then you
some of
also
us.
have these locations over here too, because you look at where they are, and then this place here was in Rephidim. See, where
Okay, yeah. And this was in Kadesh.
so I'd have to look at a map to see what those are, but I think that they're different instances,
Okay.
but the same people though.
Yeah.
Definitely the same because they got the same reaction, right?
Right.
They acted the same way.
Right.
So the same thing could be said about those ones who literally calling themselves Edom, where these ones were Amalekites, where they essentially were Edomites.
Yeah.
You know. And so when we look at this, when we look at these, what happens, right? We see another thing that we see. We want to talk about. We want to talk about kind of the response, the response to the knowledge of the Most High, the response to the knowledge of the Most High, and so looking at kind of the negative response, just kind of just going through the rest of this chapter, coming back to that idea on the other side. When we get to the next chapter, I didn't want to pass up when we look at the thing that goes on with the people in terms of this whole the actual fight. Where they're fighting against and actually losing the battle um, without this divine intervention, right? That is actually facilitated through the men helping for Moses to hold up his staff over here, right? And so it's divine intervention. It's some type of miraculous thing that's happening when he's able to hold up this staff, of Elohim that at this point has done all types of things, has initiated miracles and numerous times. But over here now, where it talks about him being stationed on the top of this hill, whenever he's able to hold it up, Israel's able to win. But whenever he drops it, Israel begins to lose, right? And so it's necessary for them, for the people now, to be able to intervene in Moses, holding up this staff so that this miraculous thing could happen, which is interesting because it's not as if like more people are going down and fighting or what have you, right? It's the idea that when Moses is able to hold up this staff, the people is able to miraculously win. And so we really got to think about, we really have to think about the idea that the fact that, the Most High does indeed move through his people. I mean, he could clearly just go and just like he did before, and just, not have the people even be involved in the thrashing of the other nation, right? He just did it. We just saw him do it over in Egypt, where he was the one who humiliated all of the gods and the ruler of Egypt. But over here now, he is using the people to do it. And so, when you think about even kind of the movement of the gospel, the Most High can miraculously drop the knowledge into the minds of whomever he decides to. But instead of doing it that way, he has decided to actually use people to drop the knowledge in the minds of other people so that they can come to the knowledge, right? And so we see over here kind of an example, I would say, of the use of man to really work the power and the might of the Most High. Because again, it was necessary for uh, Moses' hand to stay raised. They needed that spiritual strength that came from the rod of Elohim in order to be able to go out and do the thing. And he wasn't able to just hold it, right? Because they fought. It seems like they fought all day. Let's see. We go back over here. Let's see. Hands are steady. Oh, and his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. They fought all day. Right. So he needed his brothers over there to help him and hold him up. And so again, things like this, show us that, and I guess we'll also see something along these lines in the next chapter, but it's necessary for the people of the Most High, to have people to depend on, right? Because Moses clearly wasn't able to do it by himself over here, right? He wasn't able to do it. He couldn't have. They would have lost the battle, right? If it was just only up to what Moses was able to add to the situation, they wasn't able to do it. They needed for there to be these helps from these people, right? And so Yeshua came on the scene. The first thing he did was go out and get helps, right? The disciples lost a disciple, and they didn't even just stay like that. They had to have 12, right? They had to get a replacement for Judas, the betrayer, right? And so it just shows you kind of this necessary thing that the Most High has put in place, for men. I'm saying mankind. When I say men, I'm people, to depend on people, right? For his purposes to be done. And that's just a little something that we see over here that seems obvious, actually, because you're looking at this, it tells you, he couldn't have done it without him, right? And then so they go through this miraculous situation over here when they win, and of course when we look over here and see when we go down, let's see, in verse 14, where he says, I shall completely blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under the heavens, right? And so this was an important thing to remember. And again, Amalek wasn't wiped out of remembrance at this point, but they would in the, I guess, maybe not so near future, be eradicated over time. So we did see this situation actually happen, but not yet. But we also, again, see and understand why it would happen, again, because of this, the intrinsic, inherent wickedness that was in these particular people. And so again, so if we look at 15 here, 15, this is something that they did. We see various places in scriptures where some miraculous thing happens, and then we have an altar or something that's made to remember the situation. And so here they built this slaughter place and called it Yahweh Nisi, or Yahweh is my banner. Um, and so let's see here. Oh, does it say? Oh, that's interesting. It says, because a hand is on the throne of Yahweh is to fight against Amalek. Oh, because. So that's interesting, because if we look, let me see that my little whiteboard. It's interesting that 16, verse 16 says, because a hand is on the throne of Yah. Because when we look at this Nisi, Yahweh Nisi, Yahweh, of course, is the name. Yod He Wahe. But the Nisi part, let's see, here's a Nun, Samech, Yod. So we want to think about that part, which is the Nun, the Samech, and the Yod. So if we look at this, let's see here. It's my So Yahweh Nisi, we're dealing with the Nisi part, right? Which is the Nun, the Samech, and the Yod, Nisi. So the Nun is the sprouted seed, right? The seed that sprouts, which again gives you the idea of continuance, because if you plant a seed, that grows and it grows and then it makes another seed, so on and so forth. So you have the idea of continuance. And so here is the Samech, which is right here, Samech. And so that is the thorns. So the thorns, they give you the idea of something that surrounds. If you had like a thorn fence, but also it gives you the idea of something that grabs or something that takes a hold of. If you go through a thorn bush, it's going to take a hold of you and your garments, right? And then also you have this Yod, which is the hand, which is what you do stuff with, which is also what you hold stuff with. So we have this continual taking hold of, and the arm, which also is another thing that would take a hold of and it does the work with, or the also the hand and the arm is the use of strength, right? The work that's done. And so Yahweh Nisi, the Nisi actually literally means it literally is a banner, but or a flag or something that signifies. And so when we think about the fact that Yahweh is a flag for his people, he's a banner for his people. He's when you see that banner, and connected with the Most High, you know that the Most High is there for or a protector of those people, right? If I'm riding out Westmoreland County and I see some of them some of those rebel flags, I know what goes with that. Right? I know exactly what goes with that banner that they had. Right? There's like a thing that goes with the flag. And so the same thing can be said about the Most High as your banner. You should know what goes with that. Right? And so when we think about the Amalekites, they didn't know what went with Yahweh. They should have known. Right? They should have known that death and defeat is something that goes with those that are against him. Right? They should have known that they was going to get continually grabbed up by his arm when they sat there and tried to attack, but they didn't know that, right? And so Moses, put this monument here to be a remembrance of the fact that the Most High does indeed have a hold of his people, and that place over there was a perfect example of that. I see you looking at the map over there. Do you see Rephidim and Kadash and Edom over there?
Yeah, I did.
Because I know Edom proper is kind of at the bottom of Israel. I'm not exactly sure where Kadash is or Rephidim. I know for sure Edom is kind of like at the bottom of of Israel.
So it shows everything. So of course Goshen here. We came out. Where's it at? Just was looking at it. Rephidim's right here. All right, here's Canaan and Israel or Jerusalem up here.
Mm-hmm.
Amalek.
Oh, here's the mountain of Seir over there.
Seir, so with Edom over here. So it shows you the route how they went to Kadash right here.
Yeah.
But first they did go down. Here's Rephidim. So this was on the route. This was the stop, and then they came up.
Okay, right. So that's that's where the Amalekites are down there.
Yeah.
And then you have more Edomites up here in the Mount Seir place.
And that's later, yeah, when they made it.
And then they was actually over there by Kadesh also. They was kind of spread out all over the place. The Edomites were.
Yeah.
So it's really just multiple times of different factions of Esau, coming up against Israel, like they do.
Yeah, right.
Right. Okay, so let's go ahead now. Now we looked at the Amalekites' response to the knowledge of the Most High. Assuming they knew about what happened, they didn't care. Right? They didn't care about what happened. They didn't believe it. They didn't put weight on it. They didn't honor the people, and they responded accordingly. And so if we go over now, let's see how far I want to look down. Let's read the next chapter. Okay, to 12. Let me pull up. 18. Let's read 1 through 12. Here, let me move this over. Okay. There you go ahead and read that.
Okay, and Yithro, the priest of Midian, Moshe's father-in-law, heard of all that Elohim had done for Moshe and for Israel, his people, and Yahweh had brought Israel out of Mizraim. And Yithro, Moshe's father-in-law, took Zipporah, the wife of Moshe, after he had sent her back, and after her two sons, of whom the name of one was Gershom, for he said, I have been a sojourner in a foreign land, and the name of the other was Eliezer, for he said, the Elohim of my father was my help, and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. Yethro, Moshe's father-in-law, came with his sons and his wife to Moshe in the wilderness, where he was encamped at the mountain of Elohim. He had said to Moshe, I, your father-in-law, Yithro, am coming to you with your wife and her two sons with her. And Moshe went out to meet his father-in-law and bowed down and kissed him. And they asked each other about their welfare. And they went into the tent. And Moshe told his father-in-law all that Yahweh had done to Pharaoh and to the Mizrahites for Israel's sake, all the hardship that had come upon them on the way, and how Yahweh had delivered them. And Yethro rejoiced for all the good which Yahweh had done for Israel, whom he had delivered out of the hand of the Mizrahites. And Yethro said, Blessed be Yahweh, who has delivered you out of the hand of the Mizrahites and out of the hand of Pharaoh, and who was delivered the people from under the hand of the Mizrahites. Now I know that Yahweh is greater than all the mighty ones, indeed, in all the matter in which they acted proudly above them. And Yithro, the father-in-law of Moshe, brought an ascending offer and other slaughterings unto Elohim. And Aaron came out with all the elders of Israel to eat bread with the father-in-law of Moshe before Elohim.
Okay, very good. So if we go over now, back, it says in verse 1 that Yithro heard all that Elohim had done for Moshe and for Israel, his people. He heard that, right? And so then it talks about the fact that Yithro, gathers up Moses's sons and his wife who was with him to go back and meet up with Moses where he was. Right. So again, we know that Moses was he was in Egypt. Right. He grew up with out away from the Israelites in the house of the people who was the families of Pharaoh. Finds out about who he is and revolts, and he goes into exile. And while he's there, he meets up with Yithro, and Yithro gives him one of his daughters. Right? He lives out there with him. In fact, he's out there with him whenever he comes to, he gets his task from the Most High, and so he goes back, does the work, and then so I guess his children now and his wife, they hang back with Yithro. And so it says over here that Yithro hears now, he heard about what happened. And so now he's ready to meet up with Moses. They're gonna get back together again, of course, and hand off his daughter back over and the children, right? And so already now it says over here, I want to talk about again now the fact that he hears. So he might not have had all the details, right? But he knew of what happened. It seems from the text. It's because it says that he heard, right? He heard, and then he gathered up the people and he went to meet them. That's what it says. So either this is just like some type of just an overall statement that talks about the fact that he at some point heard, and then begins to tell you the story of Yithro going to Moses with the family, or it's sequential, where he heard, he gets the people together, and then goes and meets with Moses. I tend to think that it's it's something that's happening sequentially. Kind of like what how it's laid out for us in terms of him hearing about it and then going to see about what he heard. Yithro, of course, was a priest of Midian. And so the Midianites were a people. There was a place that was Midian, but also is a people. So Midian's a place and it's a people. They also were kind of a what's those people called that nomads. Midianites were also a nomadic people. So although there was a place that was Midian, there also, you will also find Midianites around other places. So I'm saying that when Moses initially met up with with Yithro, I'm not sure if he met up with him in Midian proper. Let's look and see real quick. It tells you that. No, it doesn't say that. It just says in chapter 3 of Exodus that Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside. Oh, wait, that's not where they met him. Oh, verse 15 of chapter 2, Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian and sat down by a well. So he met Jethro in the actual land of Midian. But saying that just to say that there is a land of Midian, but then also the people, the Midianites, were a nomadic people that travel all over the place. And so Yithro was a Midianite priest. And so the Midianites, who was the Midianites from? Was they from Abraham's concubine? Was they from Keturah? Yeah.
Yeah.
Genesis 25. And the sons of Midian, Ephah, Epher, Hanak, Avidah. All these were the children of Keturah. So Midian, oh wait. Oh, 25:1. Abraham took a wife, was Keturah, and she bare him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, and Midian, and Ishbak, and Shua. He had all kind of kids with Keturah. But Midian was one of those, right? So Jethro, the priest of the Midianites, there was a connection there with Abraham. But again, they definitely were not the people. But there was the Abrahamic connection, right? So again, priest, he was a priest. And then when you also look at, I think now, I want to say the first time when we learn about Yithro, let me look this up real quick before I say it. But when we learn about Yithro, I think we also learn about this other name that he has. Let me see here. Where's my search? Am I spelling it right? Hold on a second, man. One second here. I don't think I'm spelling it right. Okay. One of these places it says it uses Jethro and this Reuel name. Let's see here. Three. No, 14. That's where we are. 18. I can't find it because I'm not spelling it right. Reuel? I don't know how to spell it though, so I can't find it.
Yeah, I got Reuel. What time did you got?
Reuel?
Reuel.
Oh, why ain't it
Child of Zipporah.
what verse is that?
Uh, Numbers 10 and 29.
Yeah. Numbers 10. Okay, this here, yeah, read that for us there.
It says, Moshe and said to Hebeb, the son of Remuel, the Midianite, Moshe's father-in-law, we are setting out for the place of which Yahweh said, I give to you. Come with us, and we shall do good to you. And Yahweh has spoken good concerning Israel.
Okay, now, so over here we see this other name for Yithro, which is Reuel, the Midianite, Moshe's father-in-law. Um, he's talking to the son of Reuel, Hobab, but this Reuel, is Jethro. It's the same guy. It just has this other name. But let's see what it means. Friend of Elohim, Reuel. Right? And so I'm saying all that just to say that Yithro, he wasn't just some kind of person. He had a spiritualness about him, right? He wasn't just a complete. He wasn't a complete heathen, right? He had some. He had some spiritualness about him. He wasn't just all about the about carnality and wickedness, right?
Complete though.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when we look now, again, going back to what we're talking about over here, he hears about all of this, the priest of Midian, he hears about all of this, and he wants to hear more about it. Right? So they get up together, bring his people together. Of course, it talks about Moses in verse 7 went out to meet his father-in-law, bowed down and kissed him. He had great respect for Yithro. Moses did. That was his father-in-law. He blessed him with his beloved. All right. I'm sure he did many other things. He took him in, right, when he was on the run. Right, when he was exiled, he was with Yithro, right? So we see that he had great respect for Yithro. So they get together, they meet back up, and then now they ask each other about, so what you been? So how you been? Their welfare, right? What been going on with you? I heard about all of this stuff. Like, what happened? Like what was all of this? Right? And then so of course Moses tells him all of this, everything that happened, right? It says that in verse 8, he told him all of the things, everything that happened against against Egypt for Israel's sake, right? All the hardships, everything, how Yahweh delivered them. And then after he hears about it, he says that Yithro rejoiced over this. Right? He hears about what happened, and he rejoices over all of the goodness of Yahweh, everything that which Yahweh had done, what it says. Right? And then so the next verse here in 10, now he said, now look what his response is, right? Blessed be Yahweh, who has delivered you out of the hand of the Mitzrites and out of the hand of Pharaoh, who has delivered the people from under him. Verse 11, now I know, based on all that stuff that he just heard, now I know that Yahweh is greater than all the mighty ones, indeed, in the matter in which they acted proudly above them. This verse, I got this other version that says, now I know that Yahweh is greater than all gods. Indeed, it was proven when they dealt proudly against the people. Yithro heard all of this stuff that happened, and then he was convinced by it. Right? Pride didn't swell up inside of him to cause him to think that the gods that he already knew about, well, that's all good that he did that for y'all, but I still know about these Midianite gods and these other gods that's probably even better than what he could do. He wasn't like that. Right? That's probably how the Amalekites was. Oh, I heard about what he did over there, but he ain't better than our gods that we got in our pockets over here. We're going to still go over here and fight against them and beat them. Right? Yithro was like, nah, this, what you talking about is amazing. And I know for a fact after hearing what you had just said right there, that there ain't no mighty ones that's mightier than the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I know that. Right there, right? So we see over there now when we're thinking about kind of a contrast and comparison between Amalek and Yithro. The Amalekites, they had to have heard. Yithro heard. He didn't know all the details, but he heard. And after he got the details, there wasn't nothing else that could be said. His response was completely different. He heard about all of the mighty works and wonders of the Most High, and he was convinced that there is no other mighty one. There's no one that's greater than him. He's the mightiest. So even when you just think about that as a statement, now I know that Yahweh is greater than all the mighty ones. If we think about that statement, the fear of Elohim is implied there. Because he realizes that there is none that's greater than him. And so he has a proper understanding of who the Most High is once you get to the place of understanding that there's none that's greater than him. The opposite of that would be like when people get to the place where, again, speaking about people's actions, if you're doing whatever it is that you want to do, in spite of having a type of knowledge of Elohim, if you're doing anything that you want to do, you're not dealing with the Most High the way that he should be dealt with. Because knowing that there's none that's greater than him should alter your behavior. It should alter your behavior. It should change the way you think about things. It should change the way you operate because you understand that there's none greater. Some people may think that they're greater than the Most High. They may not say that out of their mouth, but the actions, right? If I'm out here, if I'm just doing whatever, I obviously don't have a thought or a care for what the Most High gonna bring to me as a result of what I'm doing. So I'm essentially saying that he's not the greatest. There's others that's greater, including potentially my own self. Because I can just do what I want and don't have to worry about no consequences. So I'm saying that when we look at verse 11, I'm saying that the fear of Elohim is applied over here when you understand that Yahweh is greater than almighty ones. There's no one greater. If I could come to that conclusion, there's other things that I'm saying by saying this. And one of those things is that I understand what the Most High is capable of doing to me, and there's no greater power that there is. There's no greater power that exists. That's what he's saying.
It's like you could tell, like he witnessed other mighty ones too, but then he seen the most. I was like, I ain't seen nothing. He's like,
Yeah.
What I seen, this is past what I seen.
He got something to compare it to.
Right.
Like I've seen the works of these other things, and he probably dibbled and dabbled in some of these other things because, again, he's this priest of Midian. So whatever it is that the Midianites was into, he was heavy into it because he was a priest.
Right. Yep.
And he already considered himself to be a friend of God.
Yeah.
Whoever God is, he was a friend to him, like in his mind, right? So he had that knowledge of the spirit world, right? So he had a point of reference to know that, oh, all that,
right?
There's nobody greater than him.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody greater.
Yeah.
And so again, thinking about comparing, you know, he didn't see none of this stuff either. He didn't see what happened. All he did was hear about what happened. He wasn't there. He was over there where he was at. But he knew Israel was in bondage. He knew that. He knew that there was Pharaoh that was over there that was in control of the region. Egypt, they was over everything. He knew about their reputation. But once he heard about what happened to them, he believed. He believed. Right? What's this verse here? 17 say right there. Let me make this big.
Romans 10:17. So then belief comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of Elohim.
This over here is not something that the apostle just made up over here. This is some absolute divine truth over here. Faith comes by hearing. The hearing of the word of Elohim. When you hear the word of Elohim, faith comes by that. And we saw that happen over there with Yithro. He heard about the goodness of Elohim, and he rejoiced at that goodness, and he believed. Right? He came to the ultimate realization and understanding that Yahweh is indeed Elohim of the heavens above and the earth below, and there is none else. Right? He came to that realization, right? Just from hearing. Right? And so again, when we think about you know, the way that the Most High works, this is how how his truth is spread, right? Just like how the battle against the Amalekites was won, the truth is spread from men, through men. Right? He could easily come and just drop the knowledge in your mind in a dream. And he may do that for some people. But for the most part, he's going to use man to spread his word. To spread his word that's already been established. Right? And so when you look over here, it caused me to think about, his words, right? Because that's really what happened with Yithro. He heard the goodness of Elohim. Right? And so if we go over here, I want to read Psalm. Yeah, let's just look at some of this right here. Psalm 19 from verse 7 right there.
It says the Torah of Yahweh is perfect, bringing back the being. The witness of Yahweh is trustworthy, making wise the simple.
Okay, hold that right there. So when we think about the law of Yahweh, the Torah of Yahweh, it says here is perfect. The King James says it restores the soul. The law of Yahweh restores the soul. Now we're talking about these words that we hear. When we hear these words, because it is words, whether we're hearing them or, I guess if you're reading it silently in your mind, you're still hearing it. Right? It's getting in you, right? Those words that you're hearing restore your soul. Bringing back the being. I like the King James. It says converting the soul. Right? It turns back your soul. The law of Yahweh. Right? The witness of Yahweh, which is this law, is his witness, the testimony, is trustworthy, making wise the simple. So it's changing this simple man into a wise man. Right? Verse 8. What's that say?
Says the orders of Yahweh are straight, rejoicing the heart. The command of Yahweh is clear, enlightening the eyes.
Okay, so what we have going on here is the orders of Yahweh is the Torah, is his laws, is his words. The commands of Yahweh is the Torah, which is his words. Right? The witness of Yahweh, the Torah of Yahweh, this is all the law of Yahweh, right? So the law is straight, it's upright. Let's see, is this Yashar? Let's see. The statutes of Yahweh are right. Is Yashar, right? It's straight, it's upright, it's equity, right? And it enlightens the eyes. Look, rejoicing the heart. That's what happened with Yithro. He heard about this thing and he was rejoicing, right? He rejoiced in his heart and then it manifested, right? Because he heard about the goodness of the Most High and what he did for his people. There's so many things that are just incorporated in the fact that not only the miracles that you look at with what he did, not only the miraculous way that he rescued the people, but you can also just think about the love that he had for his people to come and do that in the first place. you also think about that he's doing all of this not for the sake of the people that was enslaved, but for Abraham. It wasn't even about the people that was there because they still are just getting to know who he is right now, like in the text. It wasn't because they had this great relationship with him. It's because he made a promise to Abraham, which is something to rejoice about. Because it don't even matter their state that they're in. Because of the promise that he already made, he's fulfilling that promise. He's trustworthy, like it says right here, right? Which, knowing that, right, causes you to rejoice, just like Yithro did. Okay, let's go back. Let's look at some more. Look, verse 9. What does that say?
It says, the fear of Yahweh is clean, standing forever. The right rulings of Yahweh are true. They are righteous altogether.
Okay, keep going.
More desirable than gold, than fine gold, than much fine gold, sweeter than honey and the honeycomb.
Okay, and again, we're still talking about the word of Yahweh. You know, that is all these things that we hear and have faith in and believe in. Right? These words that we have faith in and believe in that brings us to understanding who the Most High is and bringing about that knowledge of him and that fear of him and understanding that he is greater than all. Okay, let's see here. Okay, read down through 13, 11 down through 13.
Also, your servant is warned by them, and guarding them there is great reward. Who discerns mistakes? Declare me innocent for those that are secret. Also, keep your servant back from presumptuous ones. Do not let them rule over me. Then shall I be perfect and innocent of great transgression.
Okay, very good. All of these things come from the word of Elohim. And so, to this point now, we see Yithro, that's what he got. He got the word of Elohim. When Moses told him all of the goodness of Yahweh, he's giving him the word of Elohim. Right? He's telling them all of the things. The way that the Most High came and rescued his firstborn Israel. Right? All of these things. And so again, when we think about this, again, and applying it to our own situation, right? Thinking about Yithro, who, again, all he did was hear the words. All he did was hear and believe in what he heard. And this was some life-changing things that he heard about. Right? This changed his whole situation. Right? Because again, he was a priest unto, who knows what kind of gods.
Right.
He probably had some gods in his pocket. But we see when he hears about the true and living God, the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he knew, where he sat in relation to all of the others. And so, we, have to think about, that whenever we come to the knowledge of the Most High, when we come to the knowledge of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we say that we have an understanding of who He is, what our response to that should actually be, right? Is renouncing all of the things that we formerly knew, and pledging our allegiance to the true and living Elohim, um, right? Um, and we see over here where that's kind of what we see over here in him saying, because I'm sure that the Midianites have a primary deity. I don't know who that is, right? But I'm sure they have a primary deity. But by him saying now that Yahweh, I know Yahweh's greater than them all, he's saying that he's greater than that primary deity, whoever that is, right? Which, is saying a lot, because imagine you saying that about the Bozai. Like, you can't, I don't even want to just say it using an example, right? But you could just imagine that, right? You doing that is something serious. You sitting up here saying that something's greater than your God, right? And so that was a serious thing that he said out of his mouth over here. And so if we go down, let's see here. Let's go back to Exodus, because now, as a result, now this is interesting. We go back over here. Let's see, verse 12. Verse 12. Let's see. Let me pull this up. It says, and Aaron came with all the elders of Israel to eat bread with the father-in-law of Moses before Elohim, or Panim, in the face of Elohim. Where that says before over there, that should be Panim. Let's see. Yeah, Panim, which is in the face of Elohim. So essentially, they're in the presence of the Most High. Aaron, Moses, the elders of Israel, and Yithro, the Midianite priests, right? So as a result of his knowledge that he has obtained over here, now he is eating in the face of Elohim with the elders of Israel and Moshe and Aaron. Okay, we read the 12. I want to read, let's see here. I want to go ahead and read the, let's see. Yeah, I want to go ahead and read the rest of this chapter and then close out. Let's see. Start at verse 13 down to, what is that, 27.
Says, and it came to be on the next day that Moshe sat to rightly rule the people, and the people stood before Moshe from the morning until evening. And when the father-in-law of Moshe saw all that he did for the people, and said, what is this that you are doing for the people? Why do you sit by yourself, and all the people stand before you from morning until evening? And Moshe said to his father-in-law, because the people come to me to seek Elohim. when they have a matter, they come to me, and I rightly rule between one and another, and make known the laws of Elohim in the Surah. And the father of law of Moses said to him, "What are you doing? What you are doing is not good. Both you and these people with you shall certainly wear yourselves out, for the matter is too heavy for you. You are not able to do it by yourself. Now listen to my voice. Let me counsel you, and Elohim be with you. Stand before Elohim for the people, and you shall bring all matters to Elohim, and you shall enlighten them concerning the laws of the Torah, and show them the way in which they should walk and the work which they should do. But you yourself seek out from all the people able men who fear Elohim, men of truth, hating unfair gain, and place these over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. And they shall rightly rule the people at all times. And it shall be that they bring every great matter to you, but they themselves rightly rule every small matter. So make it lighter for yourself, but they shall bear with you. If you do this word, and Elohim shall command you, then you shall be able to stand, and all of this people also go to their place in peace. And Moshe listened to their voice of his father-in-law and did all that he said. And Moshe chose able men out of all Israel and made their heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. And they rightly ruled the people at all times. The hard matters they brought to Moshe, but they rightly ruled every small matter themselves. And Moshe sent off his father-in-law, and he went away to his own land.
Okay, very good. So the interesting thing we see over here with Yithro, something that is specific and special only to him in the whole Torah, is we see that Yithro gives us Torah law. This thing that he said to Moses is something that became codified in the actual Torah. We can't look around and see any other laws in the Torah that's brought about by anyone other than the Most High, except for this over here. Now, you could say that the Most High is saying it through Yithro, um, which, you can't really say anything against that. But at the same time, I just find it interesting again that we talking about Yithro, who is, after all, a Midianite, right? And so we have this Midianite who heard the words of the Most High, was convinced of those words, believed in those words, believed in the Most High, and now he's actually even being used by the Most High to actually give us Torah law. He says, let's see. He says over here, let's see. Where's that verse at? Uh, which verse was it? Oh, verse 23. If you do this word, and Elohim shall command you, then you shall be able to stand. All this people also go to their place in peace. If you do what I'm saying, and Elohim commands you, if Elohim bear witness to what I'm saying to you, then you listen to what I'm saying. And then it says right over here, the next verse, and Moshe listened to the voice of his father-in-law and did all that he said. So we have to assume that Elohim bore witness to what it is that he said. And so again, when we look over here and we see, not only do we see that Yithro heard and believed in the words of Elohim, but he also now is actually being used by the Most High to help the people of Israel through this wisdom, that this divine wisdom that he had, that he passed over to his son-in-law Moses, and who was able to actually listen to this wisdom and implement it, and again have this be added to the Torah. And so I always looked at this and thought this was kind of an amazing, kind of a peculiar thing, because we always, throughout the whole Torah law, we see Yahweh telling Moses what to tell the people. And then that's the Torah. Yahweh told Moses to tell the people. But over here, we see Yithro told Moses, and if the Most High agree, then that's what it is. And so again, we see this other example, this second witness of the situation that we kind of seen over here. And then even the thing that he's doing is a third witness. So when we saw in the last chapter, we saw how it was necessary for man to hold up the hand of Moses so that the will of the Most High and the power could be moved. The power of the Most High through this staff that they had to hold up. Right, so it was necessary for the men to be able to get together and stand together and help each other and kind of facilitate the power of the Most High. And then over here now we see the Most High working through Yithro in order to kind of sustain Moses in the role that he has over here. And in the way in which he's doing it is, bringing about these helps. Right? Moses don't got to concern himself with everything. Right? He has the elders of the nations to be able to come together and say, look, you guys take care of the things. If it's a great matter, right, then now you bring it. But these other things, like, you could deal with those things, right? Which is wisdom. But I'm saying that it just seems interesting that you have this situation where kind of this collection of events that's happened like right after each other, of the Most High showing that, we need, I'm saying as human beings, we need each other to help us do the will of the Most High. He can miraculously come and just give us the strength and power to just do all of these things. But instead of doing it like that, he said, I need for you all to be able to work together to help each other to be able to move forward in, a particular goal. And he set it up like that. He gave all wisdom, every good gift comes from above. That wisdom that Yithro had, he got from the Most High.
Mhm.
But that wisdom was made known to Moshe
Mhm.
through Yithro. He told Moses all types of things.
Exactly. Yep.
Why couldn't he tell him that?
Yep.
He told him all kinds of things. He spoke to him face to face. Why couldn't he tell him that? Because it's an integral part of this whole situation. That is, I'm saying, the men of Yahweh working together for His purposes. So, so, kind of just closing out. We want to just think about these things. Think about the fact that we see in the scripture the Most High, works through His people. He wants for His people to be able to not be these islands unto themselves, right? But to come together and work together for His purposes. We just saw examples of where Moses wasn't able to even do the work of the Most High right there without help holding his arm up right over there. He wasn't able to do it. Israel would have fallen every time he wasn't able to hold it up. Is the Amalek prevailed? He wasn't able to do it by himself. You know, Yithro looked at Moses and what he was doing. He's like, "What are you doing? You're not going to last if you sit up here and allow these people to sit up here and drive you." That is what happened. That's what happened. Spoiler alert. The people drove Moses crazy,
Yeah.
where he wasn't able to control himself because of the place that they took him to emotionally.
One man can't handle it. Say shit gonna break
That's
you
what
out.
that's what happened.
Mhm.
That's what happened to Moses. He wasn't able to make it into the promised land because them people drove him crazy. He wasn't just able to just he let them people get to him so much that he just wasn't able to control his anger. And so just thinking about this, it just helps to teach us to understand that we need people. We need people to help us to be able to get through, to be able to do the Most High's work the way that He would have for us to do it. He knew that Abraham was at a point of weakness, just like the whole nation was at a point of weakness. That's why they was getting attacked in the first place.
Mhm.
And so He knows that we as individuals can only be so strong, and that we need um, uh, brothers. We need people to be able to come together and collectively do and work the word of the Most High and to deliver the words of the Most High, to spread uh, the belief and faith of the Almighty, and cultivate and fortify that faith of the Most High in His people Israel, known and unknown. Okay. All right. So that being said, does anybody have any thoughts or questions or comments?
I want to add real quick. Throughout the week, me and the children was, since they got this little, we do the homeschool thing anyway. And I've been watching them a few times, and it's like, back growing up, I used to watch a lot of Discovery Channel, Animal Planet, documentary stuff, on the world. So Netflix has this thing they put on YouTube. It's called Our Planet. Amazing. All I can say is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you broke down, and like how Yithro was speaking to Moses, and how everything, not only through this instance, but going throughout the scriptures ties, how we need each other to build on things. And Our Planet, everybody should watch it, like hands down. So it's basically all about nature. So I like to always on the Shabbat and whatnot, we talk about he rested from his creation and all that stuff. And so we know that this world is the Most High's creation. You watch these, and it's broken up. So it goes through the rainforest, it goes to the ocean, it goes through fresh water, salt water, and different things, deserts, all parts of the earth. And it shows the environment and how everything is dependent on each other in that environment.
Yeah.
And it's so you gotta watch it to see how amazing the Most High is. Because it's one thing to hear about it, but to see how they put it together and how everything is integral from every creature, how they all depend on each other. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's called Our Planet on Netflix. You get everybody should watch it just to see if you see how the Most High set the wild kingdom up, and we can take notes from that, because we supposed to be more civilized and more knowledgeable. You can see how we don't operate, how we got these issues because we're not following in line with how you set things up.
Yeah, that's good. And that also, we was here already, right? Psalm 19 says the heavens. I'm just gonna read King James. Says the heavens declare the glory of Elohim, and the firmament shows his handiwork. We're able to look at nature, and nature got it figured out. It's all like a big one of those. You look inside the clock, and it's got all these moving parts that move together. They're doing their own thing, but they're moving together at the same time for a singular purpose of getting them hands around.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And nature is the same way. And when you look in nature, all of these things, as you're saying, are interwoven. And it definitely would do us good to look and understand what's going on in nature, because you don't nobody gotta tell nature that it needs to work together, because it's already doing it.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Okay. And the thing, the crazy part is if any part of that fails, when you watch it, any part fails, it's disastrous to everything.
Yeah.
So that's how we gotta look at it. It's like everybody gotta find their place and play their part, because you can see the failure that takes place when somebody don't do their part, or
Yeah. All right. Very good. Okay, so we're gonna end on that note. Very good. So for now, we will say Shabbat Shalom, and y'all willing, we will be back next week doing this all again. All right. Shabbat Shalom.